Another year has passed. Welcome back to a brand new series of Clay Shooter TV in association with Field Sports and of course a ream of wonderful sponsors. We're here today at the Hownhall Shooting School in West Sussex. Welcome back to a brand new programme. On today's programme, start of the season, things kicking off. You've heard it all before, I know you have, but there's some that won't have, and hopefully some that will take some value from this. And this is the mount, okay? Now, it's getting that mount practiced, getting your style honed. I would argue a mount is probably 85% of a shot, okay? You can have everything else in place, mismount, and the shot's offline. So it's imperative that you get this honed, get the condition, and get it absolutely spot on, all right? Now, in my mind, there's three different types of mount, or start positions, if you like. So if I can just show you those. The first one, traditionally, full gun down. So the stock down by the side of the chest, okay? Coming up from there, half gun down. So maybe stock just on the top of the chest plate. And I know there's some, small adjustments within that. And then of course, competition or indeed novice, you'll be starting pre-mounted. So that's with the gun in the cheek, rather like this. Okay. So all three totally acceptable, standard ways of shooting. In the school here, we like to teach full gun down. Because actually, if you can master that, and that are actually less work, less labour. What you've got to work out is what type of shooting you're doing. Are you going to be in field? Are you going to be clays for fun? Are you going to be competition? And I would argue it's good to have an understanding of all three. You can then pick and choose to use at your will, depending on situation. So let's take full gun down. To me, it's prime. It allows timing, fluid movement. It's the traditional way of shooting, okay? And that's having that stock side of the chest. Now with that, you've got to remember foot position or feet position. Roughly speaking, if your muzzle's sticking out in front, imagine that's 12 o'clock and your feet will be 1 and 2 o'clock in relation to. That's as a right-handed shooter. If you're a left-handed shooter, muzzle sticking out at 12 o'clock and your feet will be 11 and 10 o'clock, left-handed. The key for that mount, along with half gun down, is that actually you're bringing the gun up and the stock is coming into the cheek and then the shoulder. And it then relates to your style of shooting, be it pull away, swing through, maintained. Okay, by that what I mean is, it's a combination of 2 points at once. Let's just for argument's sake, say you're shooting pull away, so you're going to mount onto a target, you're going to push the muzzle onto a target. As you're staring at that target and you push the muzzle to it, as it connects with the target, at the same time, the comb of the stock wants to come up under the cheekbone and then bed into the shoulder. So the cheek is primary, the shoulder is secondary. So you just play along and imagining that I'm going to neatly mount onto a target, but watch this end. So see the target, mount on, cheek, shoulder. I'll do that again, a bit clearer. Caught my lapel, which is one of the things you want to watch out for. Cheek, shoulder. Okay, that's the idea, with then keeping the gun perfectly positioned and lined with the target. Now you will see a lot of people making the shoulder primary and then dropping the head down onto the stock. This can cause massive issues. There's a myriad of positions here that look right from 3 meters, but actually are out just enough to throw the muzzle slightly offline. And by the time the shot's got to the target, it's way offline. Again, difficult to show here, you know, just looking at this as a flat picture, but you know, a shoulder slightly low, drop the head, I'd now be shooting really high. Out of the shoulder, drop the head, I'd now be shooting to the left, so on and so forth. When you become proficient, you will just place both together, like so. But in your mind to start with, have that idea of cheek, shoulder, and then obviously relating that to your style of shooting, i.e. where you position the muzzle. So let's look at the second style, which is half gun down. So it's just a sort of a slight variant, obviously, on full gun down. And you'll see a lot of clay shooters doing this. And in effect, in my mind, it's having the gun out of the cheek, so everything's nice and, what's the word I'm looking for, sort of reactive, instinctive, you know, full vision, peripheral, 100%. And then, you know, when that target's coming, you can neatly do the small movement into the cheek and hopefully with huge success. So the idea with that is that literally it's like cutting the full gun down in half. You just sat with the gun here. Quite nice for away targets, quite nice for sharper targets. Again, these are options that everyone can personalise or indeed ignore, but it's just, you know, different routes to the same destination. So the idea with that, obviously, is just starting from the top of the chest plate here. So you can see everything nice and reactive, and then a nice neat cheek shoulder. And you're into the target, okay? Finishing off, lastly, quite simply, a stance that a novice might take, or indeed a competition shooter who's doing sort of a very faster way, just wants to kill, wants to point. That's pre-mounted, okay? So clues in the name, that's bringing the gun, cheek, shoulder, all the business is done, all we're ready, all we're doing is looking at the target, pull, bang, and it's nice and quick and neat. Now, I would suggest that for people who do general shooting, that you would learn full gun down. And I say that for a reason, and I actually said this earlier. Coming back from that is really simple. Although to get yourself proficient with full gun down, start the other way round. What I mean by that is, if you've just started shooting, you're pre-mounted, think about the movement you carry out to become pre-mounted. You mount the gun, don't you? Like that. So why can't you mount the gun neatly? Take a moment just to pause here, and then I'm going to pre-mount the gun, call pull and shoot. And by default, you're operating the whole process. The only difference is that you're shouting pull after you've mounted the gun. So you could then go to a half gun down, go into the mount position, just drop the gun down a little, and then pull, and try your movement from there. Little and often, nice controlled practice. It will happen, it will come. Then if you need to, you can progress downwards, full gun down, so on and so forth. Working in the school full time, what I tend to see a lot of, which I don't particularly like, I'm not saying don't do it, it might work for some, but I think generally it doesn't. And that is having the gun in the shoulder and then dropping your head down onto a target. It's slightly messy. The shoulder tends to become primary. The cheek is rarely committed in its position, and so it can create what we call a bit of muzzle flip, which is the gun bouncing when you pull the trigger, because it's slightly slack here and tight there. It's quite uncomfortable, and obviously you stand a large chance of missing the target. So there's an overview of the three. I think what I'm going to do now is put a couple of shells in, get my man with the camera to dance around a bit, and we'll see if we can show those three styles in real life. Just as a little side note as well, for anybody coming into shooting, it's imperative that you wear ear, eye and headwear. Okay, always. All right, don't cut corners. Okay, glasses on, ears on. First one I'm going to do is pre-mounted. Okay. Nice. Then working my way down, I'll chop into half gun down. Try not to let the glasses steam up. And last but not least, the good old traditional full gun down. And there you go, 3 styles, covering all angles. Time for you to do some practice. There you go, you've seen the 3 different styles: gun down, half gun down, pre-mounted. Now let's be clear, I believe it's good to understand all 3 and to be able to use all 3, unless you are specifically doing one type of shooting, obviously. In another episode, we'll look at the different styles as well: maintained, swing through, pull away. And actually, you may use one style all the time, but again, it's quite handy to understand the others. You may mix them all up. You may use one for specific situations. So call it like a sort of a toolbox. Good to understand, good to be au fait with everything, so you can best use it as required. A sloppy mount will cost you the shot, okay? And I see it so often. You've invested, you've spent some money, usually a few quid on a gun. Cartridges aren't cheap. We've got a few items of clothing. You've actually paid to use the ground or rent a piece of ground or whatever. So you're investing. So you need to make sure you get the best from it. And I don't care what anybody says, you know, the traditional ways in some sense are the best. That's how it started. That's how it continues. There's lots of nuance and hybrids, but you can't beat a bit of good old-fashioned proper stuff, right? So just to run back through and recap, and I'm aiming this more at novice or people, you know, who are a little newer to shooting. Gun's clear. Gun down. Stock on the rib cage, below the chest, not under the arm, just resting on the side. That's generic. Muzzle height, well, that depends on where your target is, what you're shooting, topography, so on and so forth. Okay? Half gun down, just coming up a step onto the chest. Some people actually like to mount the gun up to the cheek and then just gently drop it out. That's fine. The best, you know, whatever feels most comfortable and best for you. And then obviously the last one is the pre-mounted with the gun in the cheek and the shoulder. My little note on practicing, if you are starting and you are shooting pre-mounted and you want to teach yourself half full gun down, right from the get-go, just think about how you mount pre-mounted. Start from here, pre-mount, then call your target, okay? And then when you're feeling ready, drop the gun out and call pull before you move, and just slow incremental change. It will make a massive difference. I hope that adds a little value. Don't push it too hard. It's one of those things that's little and often, okay? But it's going to add great benefit to your shooting, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode where those mounts will be hugely applicable to what we're going to be shooting. Stay safe I'll see you again.
Welcome to the first edition of Clay Shooter TV in 2024, and we're going to start off with not a new gun. And most of you guys out there that already know about shooting know that this is not a new gun as well. And what is it? Well, it's the MK38 Trap, but slightly different. The MK38 Trap came in a grade 1, grade 3 and a grade 5. This is a grade 1. Now, as a sporting shooting mainly, you're probably wondering, why have you got a trap gun and are you doing trap? No, we're not. It will shoot trap all day long. In fact, it's one of the nicest trap guns you can actually shoot. But this has been modified. And the reason why I've decided to pick this gun when I spoke to the editor to start the series off was because this really is a gem and a half if you can find one. And when I say find one, it's because this particular one has actually been T-choked. So it's a multi-choke trap gun. And I'll just clear a quick myth up before we go on a little bit more about the gun. You can shoot sporting with a trap gun, easy peasy, lemon and squeezy. So you'll see many of these MK38 trap guns, not for a lot of money, certainly under £1,000, and they're built to last. This particular one is well over 20 years. I think it's nearly 30 years old, this gun. I've known this gun for the last 12 years as a friend of mine, and mechanically it is exactly the same now as it was when it first came out of the factory all those years ago. The only thing that has changed is the cosmetics of it, because it's been in battle every weekend and during the week forever. So going back to why I chose this one, because it is T-choked, and if you can buy one, you'll never ever sell it, and it does a lot of things. Now, the one thing about this particular one is, when you buy a trap gun and you've probably been in a gun shop and you pick it up and it's got a safety on it and you can't change the barrel. Well, this one you can. And there's a video of me on YouTube somewhere, type it in, Miroku MK38 selector, and it'll show you how to remove that. So you can turn it into top barrel, bottom barrel, and select it anytime you want. So back to the main gun itself, it's typical Miroku. I've always found that Miroku put better wood on their lower grade guns than their big brother, cousin, whichever you want to call it, the Browning stuff. So the MK38 was born after the 3800, which is a still, even to this day, used extensively in shooting. The MK38 comes with a 10mm parallel tramline rib. This one did have a centre bead on it, and it's either been removed or it's been knocked off. I wouldn't be surprised if it's been knocked off because of its age. But that's testament to, and you can hear this, testament to how well built these guns are. It's got all the features that you would get on a competition gun. 2 3/4 chamber, trap style fore end, solid mid rib though, which, believe it or not, does add a bit of weight to it. But you'll see in the conclusion how well this actually shoots. It doesn't have an adjustable trigger, although that's been upgraded and you can now get on with adjustable triggers. So the trigger's just set. a typical trap pad. Now, I've heard that people say, well, you can't shoot sporting with a trap pad because of how this is shaped. Well, you'll see in the video that that just gets proven incorrect. And you are now going to see how well a probably 30-year-old gun shoots. And one of the other reasons why I've chose this particular gun to start off the season, because this gun, believe it or not, cheap choke, is under £1,000. And I'll see you in the next bit for the conclusion and a little bit more detail about this gun. So here's my conclusion of Miroku's MK38 Trap. T-choked, been T-choked, because originally they would come as 3/4 and full. And you'll see from the footage that I shot this at Sporting, I have shot one of these at Trap as well, which is what it was designed for, and Eley's, and it performs outstanding. This is why it's won so many medals, and still does to this day actually. So don't think, if you come across one, you think, well, I found a gun and it's only £1,000 or even less actually, and think that it can't perform at a world-class level, because it can. You do some research and you'll find that this is a real gun built for gold medal winning. And I used to shoot one of these many years back, probably when they first came out, and I've won quite a lot with one as well. You'll see from the footage we went through a whole range of ammunition. We went through Fiocchi's 21 gram in fibre actually, and which I think, believe it or not, is probably the best 21 gram in the world. Yeah, I did say that. 24 gram again in fibre. We have 24 gram plastic through it, up to Fiocchi's legendary F Blue, Fiocchi's Rossa, which is superb through this gun. The balance and the softness of that shell through that gun, for me, is just, it's a marriage. It really is. A marriage that works as well. All the way up to Lovell's Power Gold, which again is a full grade competition round, and then we just keep climbing up to the F Black, and then they're absolutely stonking, all singing, all dancing, absolute brilliant. B&P next. And it handled them very differently. So what that tells me is that this gun is built with the characteristics, handleability, that will tell even an entry-level shooter that how this gun can behave, and it feeds back to the shooter. It's quite sensational really, the difference that you get from each one of these cartridges to tell you how that gun feels, and it gives you your registration of how you gel or don't gel actually with this particular gun. So real testament there to Miroku for building something that can handle that kind of information and feed it back to a shooter. Again, like I said, you know, this is a world-class gun for probably £1,000 or less. Might find it a little bit dearer, depending on the grade as well. How did I find it to shoot? I'll just get rid of straight away the one thing that I absolutely detest. And I detest this on all guns actually, so it's not just Miroku. Actually two things really, and it's all to do with the trigger. The trigger travel before it fires. Typical, like Miroku Brown and stuff. And the fact that you can't adjust the trigger length. That's it. What do I like about it? Everything. What could I shoot with this? Everything. Another reason that why this handles so well, and you'll see other Mirokus that have been turned into really big high pheasant guns, the 32 inch, and you can see why some of the best shooters in the world who have got really big pockets as well, and they can afford anything, will go and pick up the Miroku line in 32 inch. This is the 30 inch. How does it shoot? Like I said, it's beautiful. The feel of it is fantastic. It's a solid weapon. The triggers are crisp, even despite the length of pull that there is, the slack as I call it, the take up before it fires. I'd be confident to take this gun out on anything, any discipline that there is out there, and it would handle it no problem at all. I'm not even fazed by the 30-inch barrels. I mean, I'm a 32-inch shooter, but because of the solid mid-rib, it gives it that weight without it hanging over the front on your left arm where you can't steer the thing. It's really well thought out and well balanced, and with the top ventilated rib and that really wide rib. I mean, I prefer wide ribs anyway, especially mention a name here now, another Japanese manufacturer, the Shadow. I mean, I like wide ribs. When people say they don't see the ribs, I tend to in my peripheral, and I really like it, and it glides into the target. The other thing I really do like about this gun is it's solid in its performance, nice and steady. You can go to any target. And if you need it to accelerate, let's just say hypothetically we're going to shoot something like an Olympic skeet target, you can accelerate them barrels extremely fast. But then if you went on to the other side of it and you were shooting long range crossers at sport, the steadiness of it is sublime, really. So this really is a gem that most people miss out, and do not let the word trap put you off. I've won a lot with it, they win a lot, so if you can find one or get one, you will have a gun for life. And on that note, I'll see you again. Welcome to the first episode in 2024 of Clay Shooter TV, and we're going to kick it off by reviewing Fiocchi's F Black in plastic wad and Fiocchi's F Blue in plastic wad. These are actually new, both of them, and what's new about them? Well, I'm going to save that for the conclusion, so I'll explain why they're new, because some people are going to look at it and go, nothing new about them. But there is. So today, the F Black full competition grade cartridge comes in 7.5 and 8.5 plastic wad. The F Blue recreational club shooting cartridge only comes in a 7.5. Both of them with a 28 gram load, and they're very different and they're very capable in different ways, which I'm going to demonstrate on camera if I'm good enough. The F Black, everywhere you go in the world, especially if you travel the world as a shooter like I do, you're always going to see this. It's a very well sought after cartridge. It's loved all around the world. Last year I was in South Africa, and the South Africans absolutely think this is the best thing ever. And they're not wrong. The F Blue, again, it's all around the world, and it's used extensively by club shooters, recreational shooters, which is what it's designed for. So they are very, very different, and some people do get them confused because F Black is very close to F Blue. They're not the same, and you're going to see why. The F Black, as I said last year when we did the F Black Fibre, was and still was particularly designed for being able to go through semi-autos. That's why the F Black's got that little bit more, well actually it's got a lot more compared to this one. So if you're one of those shooters that likes that kind of shooting, and it's a full competition cartridge, I can understand why the F Black is so popular because of that. The F Blue, it's a lot smoother, it's a lot more round. And you're going to get to see that in the footage when we go out in a minute onto a few stands and I'm going to shoot these. And then after I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you what's new about both of these. And I'll see you on the shooting stand. What I'm going to do is going to start off with the F black and switch to the F blue. Same target, a seamless run in with it. So black, blue, simple as that. Okay, let's shoot. So what's my conclusion of the F black plastic and the F blue in plastic? Well, before I really get onto that, I did say that this was new. And I was going to tell you what's new about it. Not a great deal in what's inside. In fact, they're the same thing. Single base powder, 5% antimony lead, blah blah blah. The usual Fiocchi primer, which is fantastic. So what is new? Well, it's got a new box and you're thinking, wow, is that it, Drennan? Come on, mate, really? No, it's not. On this box is a Union Jack. You're thinking an Italian cartridge supporting the Union Jack. It's all over it, look at that. Magnificent. We'll get a close-up of it for you. So what does that mean? Well, these two particular shells now, the F black and the F blue, are now being loaded here in a good old UK. They're actually loaded in the Larval Express plant. So those that are Fiocchi shooters have been familiar with a few years ago when it was a little bit short on supply. Well, I've got news for you. I've been told by the main man himself. There's no supply issues anymore in getting the F black and the F blue here in the UK. So any of your stockists, this is what I've been guaranteed as well, should be able, can get these cartridges now from England and made here in England. So that's the new part, really. Performance wise and guts, they're the fantastic Italian formula, and the British have just taken it and put it in. So that's what's new about it. A new box with the Union Jack on it and the fact that they're now made here. So on to what do I think of them? Well, I've always been a great fan of the F black. It does everything. Whether you want to shoot trap, you want to shoot fit task, you want to shoot long range stuff, close range stuff, whatever you want to do. And they do have that lovely, if you are a semi-auto shooter, they give you a lot of confidence. We've shot some clays today, quite a long way out, and you'll probably see on the footage, and I did it to show Harry, the cameraman. We shot everything today here, and we've shot some 50-yard crosses, and I shot skeet, actually skeet choke, and they're really good kills. So that's the kind of performance you're going to get out of this F black, and it does it everywhere in the world. So it doesn't matter what your discipline is, it really doesn't matter. That's going to perform. But the F blue, it is a recreational club cartridge, but with outstanding capabilities. I mean, I've been quite shocked with some of the shots I pulled off today, and when you see the footage, in some of them you're going to go, I can't tell the difference between the F black and the F blue. And that's a good thing in one way. As a shooter, what you will notice though, that the F blue definitely has that, it really does raise the muzzle up on the gun. So it's got a lot more kick in it, believe it or not. So a lot of people think if it's a cheaper cartridge, it's going to be softer or weaker and all that. Well, you're in for a shock, because that definitely behaves differently with recoil. There's more of it, or more muzzle flip than there is with the F black. But also, those are considerably cheaper than those. And when I say considerably, I won't give you the price at the moment because, well, prices are always changing, so there's no point in making the price different, but it is significant. So if you are counting the pennies, definitely F blue. That cartridge is going to outperform nearly all the shooters that I know. It's certainly going to outperform any recreational club shooter, bar none, unless you're going to try and shoot ridiculously long targets, and it's just not designed for that. So you're asking something that it can't do. The F black, on the other hand, which is why it is more money, it's got that crisp recoil because of the powder and the way that it burns, and the wad and the way that it leaves the muzzle of the gun, which then decreases that muzzle flip. So if you're a competition shooter and you're shooting especially fast targets, one followed by another one really quick, and you need to ascertain the second target fast, that without doubt is going to be the cartridge to go for. Which one would I choose? Because I can, only because I can, the F black for me. I know that it's going to do what I want it to do. I've got no problem in going into any competition anywhere in the UK, any competition, and shooting that. And I know that if I put the gun in the right place, it's going to perform. But just hold that a second. I wouldn't dismiss this either. I really wouldn't. I'm quite happy to shoot that all day long. The only thing that me personally, is I find it a little bit too muzzle flippy for me, but it will stretch its legs a little bit further than most people will give it credit for. We've pushed it out 50 yards today, and as you'll see from the footage, it did it. So it really boils down to what you prefer in the perception of recoil, and the biggest one that really drives most people is price. And I can't answer that part for you, only you can. But whether you're a recreational shooter, and don't forget, if you are, you can still shoot these as well. Yeah, if these are in the back of my car and that's all I've got to shoot, I'm going to be spoilt for choice unless I know there's a really long or really edgy on hard target. Be that. If not, that's going to do the job as well. So I hope that clears a few things up, and you can decide which one you want, because they're both fantastic in their own rights. And as I said, you can get them no problem at all from your Fiocchi stockies. And on that note, I'll see you again.